5 women, real lives, real talk. Welcome to Charcuterie and Conversations, the Board Squad podcast, where the board is set, the beverages are poured, and we are showing up for you and for each other. Pull up a seat. You are right on time.
Welcome back to the Board Squad podcast, Charcuterie and Conversations. I'm Monica Converse, and today we're going to talk about elitism in the Black community, and I'm joined with Nicola.
Hello.
And Anna.
Hello.
And before we get into this week's episode, we are going to talk about this beautiful board that we have in front of us today.
Ooh, I'm excited about this board. I took out one of my mom's champagne coupes from the buffet.
Very fancy.
Very fancy.
And it's filled with an apricot jalapeno preserve from a little local shop in Santa Barbara called La Oliva. And then there are a few cheeses on the board. There's a brie cheese that's extra creamy. There's an 18-month aged Gouda, which is so good.
Yum.
And then on the periphery is a blueberry vanilla goat cheese.
Yum. That's my
And it's so delicious. And then there's 2 types of crackers as well. One is a crostini, and then there is a Parmesan crisp with 8 grams of protein. I'm all about the protein.
Love it.
Gorgeous.
So nice.
It's
Thank
gorgeous.
you. Yes.
I've been really into protein crackers, by the way, so really good find, Anna.
Spot on.
Love.
Spot on.
Love.
All right, so let's get started. So what we're going to talk about today is elitism in the Black community and how we all experience it and maybe how our children experience it and, you know, our take on it. So today I want to discuss, what does it mean to be elite in the Black community?
Well, Black elitism to me started with the Talented 10th, and they really hashed out what it meant to be successful in the Black community, who were the creme de la creme of our community, were educated, they married well, they were socially adept, they were conscious, they were well-read, and they were experienced. So they were able to travel and see things and do things. He really strongly believed that is what it meant to be elite in the Black community. And so I think that that's what's carried through to today.
Yeah, wonderful.
I want to add to that too. Elitism for me isn't just in the Black community. It exists in corporate America. It exists in prestigious institutions. And it exists in politics where we see, certain men become members of Congress because of the schooling that they've had.
So and women now,
thank goodness.
Yes.
So it's really, I think, a societal hierarchy that kind of divides according to class. And it really started just as, the racial awakening happened because of all the segregation that Blacks experienced. So it was not only essential, it was necessary.
Yes.
Definitely.
So what do you ladies think? Do you think that you can be born into an elitist environment, or do you think you can work your way up into one? I will say, I'm just going to give a little tidbit about myself, is I was actually born into a family that was very low income. I actually lived in government housing until I was 17 years old. That was subsidized. And my parents definitely believed in me getting a higher education as the ticket to moving out of that environment. Growing up, I have only one friend that I know that went into a 4-year university. So out of all of the people that I grew up with, only one person did. I will say that I've worked very hard and I'm very proud of where I am today. And so I have the opportunity to be in elite spaces, and that's just due to hard work, self motivation, and seeing it as a goal and wanting to be a part of that space. I don't feel like I'm an imposter in those spaces, but what do you think? Do you think that you can work towards it, or do you think it's a place or a space that you're only born into?
I mean, I think it's both. I think it's both. And Monica, I am an immigrant. So my story is one of an immigrant family, and my parents came to the United States because there was a revolution in Africa, so they had to leave the country, and they kind of worked themselves up. But the common thread was that they believed that education was the way out of whatever socioeconomic circumstances you were kind of born into or built or you were experiencing. So that's kind of the common thread. And in the early history of America, that's kind of what separated a lot of these what we call elitist Blacks, because they could read, because they could go to school, and they were free slaves, so they had the opportunity to go to school.
Yep.
So a lot of this is rooted in history. So we definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah, I would say for my family, it's really the American story, especially in the Black community. My father, his family's from Jamaica, Caribbean, and they believed very much in, you work hard, you get a college education, you own a business. They're very entrepreneurial and really pushed. And my father became an attorney. And my mother's family, her mother is from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and was born just after the riots there, my grandmother. And so then my mother, same, she was the first generation to go to college. She also got a graduate degree as well and was an educator. And so I was the beneficiary of that in many ways, because I then was considered the Black elite, but the first generation in my family to really be that. And on my mother's side anyway. And so that I think I carry a lot of pride in, that I feel like I have to work hard to keep that going. And I think in the Black community especially, and we can talk about this too, that we do try to hold on to, whatever our ancestors or our parents or grandparents worked for, because it is harder to do that for us than I think it is for other communities.
Yeah. And I just want to pause. I think a lot of the reason why it was so hard to do was when you look at some of the elite, what are so-called elitist organizations, their very existence was because they were just trying to uplift from the oppression that they faced. So they were creating spaces where Blacks could get educated, Blacks could get political power, Blacks could become physicians, Blacks could become attorneys, and all of those things. And they also helped elderly with housing. They helped with orphanages. They helped
During the
really,
Civil Rights Movement.
throughout the Civil Rights Movement. And they were the fabric of society. So they really paved the way for a lot of what we're seeing. And I know they've been criticized. And they're criticized on social media sometimes for being exclusionary, but their existence was anything but exclusionary. It was very much necessary.
And pivotal.
Well, let's talk about that. So there are some, elite organizations that do cater to the African American community. There's some organizations that help your children through, their education and upward. One is Jack and Jill. There are Black colleges that are, predominantly, if not mostly, African American, that are spaces that you want your kids to be a part of. A space where they'll find a partner or networking as well. Do you think we've gone too far? Do you think that those environments are exclusionary and it's kind of moved the needle too far to one side or another?
I don't think so. I think that there's a place, especially in this day and age. I think with our current political climate and with things the way that they are in the world. I think having safe spaces is always going to be important. I think, equity and inclusion and diversity, those things do matter, and they matter especially to our children to be able to see themselves, to be able to aspire to things. And especially if you're in an environment like LA, where we all live, where maybe your children don't have an opportunity at their private school or in their club sport to have other kids who are experiencing life the way they are. It's nice to have a space to go to where they can do that safely and really be themselves and find out who they are and what they like in their own space. I found that to be the case for the HBCU that I attended, that it was really, for me, the first time I felt free socially.
Wow. That's wonderful.
And I think it's important because Black people are not a monolith. And we forget that all the time. These spaces exist for our counterparts. So why are we criticized when they exist for us? And they're actually rooted in community uplifting. And that's the biggest difference. These organizations exist to help better or to improve the circumstances. So I absolutely think that they're, pivotal and just so needed. So I'm a big supporter.
Well, I am too as
Yes.
well. All right. So I want to kind of shift a little bit and discuss something else. So in the board squad, our children have great privileges. We are either middle class, upper middle class, thankfully, on the backs of our ancestors, our parents, and everyone else who's helped us get to where we are. And so our kids do experience a level of privilege, from private schools to club sports, like you mentioned, to, wonderful vacations, Martha's Vineyard, different things like that our kids experience. Do you think that your kids see and understand their privilege, or do you think that they just think, life is just, this is what life is, and they don't even know what we've kind of been through in the past?
Life is a public event. So my kids were told right from the start, you may be better off, but you are better than no one. Yes. So I tell them on the first day of school when they step foot. And we started their educational journey started in public school, and that was deliberate. I had a choice, and I chose to put my kids in public school because I wanted them to see the diversity that exists in our society. That was really important to making and building better Black children. And so my kids know they have privileges. They're aware. And, I always tell them, when you have something, you also have the responsibility. You shoulder the responsibility to improve and make it better for someone else who's coming behind you. So I think that's kind of where I stand.
Same here. My son went to the same
elementary school,
public school as Anna's children. And I felt the same way. My mother was a public school teacher for 35 years. And I really believe in public school education, but I also understood the needs of, my child. And so therefore we are now a private school family. But I think it's so important for all children to have to be grounded. African-American children are always going to be a little bit grounded again in this country because America's going to make sure that they're grounded. Yeah. So I want them to have levity too. Yes. I want them to feel special. I want them to feel like they deserve to be in all spaces. And I think that I tell them to never be ashamed, never apologize for what you have, what you are able to do.
Your
appreciate
success.
it.
Yes.
Again, know you're better than no one.
Yes.
But don't ever feel that you don't deserve what you have.
I love that. I love that.
And it's important because we see a certain stereotype being played out in the media for Black children. And, we are not reflecting that or perpetuating that stereotype. And I think that's important to show them that we are not a monolith, like I said.
Absolutely. So ladies, how do you feel? Coming from where you were in the past, maybe, and now where you are today, and able to be in these spaces of relative privilege. How do you feel? Do you feel welcomed in those spaces? Do you feel not so welcome? Do you, strut your step and walk with your head held high and just don't even think about anyone else and just enjoy yourself? What's your takeaway?
I think that, again, we've all worked really hard to be where we are. And again, that is just the status quo of being an African-American in America, is that you are going to have been a hard worker almost always. But no, I think that, every space that we are in, all of us, and as the board squad, are spaces that we deserve to be in. We've worked hard to be in, and I don't feel that we should feel we have to apologize for that in any way or for our children.
Yeah, we never do. And there's a saying that I always take with me. It's, we lift as we climb.
Oh, I love that.
And so we always try to make things better for the person coming next behind
it's
us.
The motto of Hampton University, by the way.
Is it?
Perfect. Yeah.
Shameless plug for my university.
Yes. And absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the difference with Black women, Black culture. We're always looking out for the community. And it's heavy. It's a heavy responsibility, especially because of our entire existence is about lifting up the race. And it's a huge lift. Let's just say that. So we need everyone's support to get it done.
I think too. I mean, we went to Martha's Vineyard this summer together with our children. And I think what is so nice is when you are in those spaces and you truly can be free and feel safe with other people who, really have your child, yourself, your own best interest at heart. You really get a little taste of what probably a lot of other people get to feel all the time.
Right.
And so I think it's so special and so important to make sure we preserve those spaces so that we will have them and that we can pass them on to further generations so that they will always have those spaces. I just think we have to protect them at all costs.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, for your candor today. This has been the Board Squad podcast, Charcuterie and Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms and let us know what's your hot take. We do have a board here. I hope that you've seen it. We do have them available on our website for purchase. So if you want to create your own charcuterie board and then tag us as well, we'd love to see your creations. Have a wonderful day.